This fish is a hidden gem. This is a sickle pomfret, or in Hawaii, where they're more commonly found, they're called monchong. This fish was an accidental catch on a swordfish buoy, or this is also called bycatch. What's special about this bycatch is it's actually a prized fish. We don't have a method for specifically targeting these fish, so every time we get one, it is not on purpose, but instead of it being a disappointment, it's exciting. When it comes to filleting your monchong, what's really cool is the meat comes all the way up in his forehead. So we want to pick up the fin, and these scales are tough. So what you want to go at a hard angle and wedge your knife underneath those scales to make sure you don't have to saw through and fight those scales. And see how far up the meat comes on this fish? You want to get all of that meat behind the head without losing out on any of it. That's the reason why on pompano we cut the head off first, so that way you get all that meat behind the head. Then we're going to twist our knife around and open it up just like that. Now, right on top of the dorsal fin, we're going to make a slight incision and pull forward. We're going to go all the way to the head, make sure we get that whole chunk of meat behind the head. Then we're going to twist our knife around and we're going to go all the way down to the tail. Once you have that nice opening, you can rest your knife right on top of the skeleton and let the skeleton guide your knife. Pomfret have very thin spines, so it is very easy to cut through their skeleton and go to the other side. You want to take your knife, go behind the head to release this piece of head meat before you go any further. You want to make sure that this can lift. If you didn't release it in a way that allows this to lift, you're going to create tears in the meat as you try to go over the ribs. So now that we have that, we can go over the ribs, which on these fish, they have crazy rib cages where they go straight up. It is like a giant ball of ribs. You guys can check this out, this whole ball right here, the ribs. Now we want to stick our knife on the other side of that spine and come down. And now we're going to just work our way around those ribs. A little different than a lot of other fish because these ribs are so bizarre. Once you get to the edge, you can cut straight down. And now we can separate the whole fillet just like that. And there is your beautiful monchong fillet right there. Again, this is a prized bycatch. When you hear the word bycatch, in the social justice warrior's mind, that is a very dirty word. It means wasted fish. That doesn't exist when it comes to small vessel commercial fishermen. Everything that is an accidental catch gets used one way or another. There isn't a wasted bycatch. And when it comes to monchong, this is actually a prized bycatch. Every time they see one of these, it is an exciting thing because the market, not just our market, but the seafood world of buying and selling, love receiving this fish because it is so sought after. All bone right there. So what makes monchong a prized accidental catch is that it's phenomenal. The meat is likened to like a fatty tuna meets a wahoo. Wahoo is very lean, but tender at the same time, delicious for raw preparation. This has a phenomenal fat content to it. It is rich and buttery without being fishy at the same time. One of my friends, Tommy Gomes, compares this to Chilean sea bass. This is a sustainably harvested fish, whereas the other mentioned fish, not so much. Now with a comparison like wahoo meets fatty tuna, I don't know how you could not be excited to try this accidental catch. All right, now let's check out this pocket of ribs. And it's crazy, there's bone right here, and then underneath, that's all bone too. We're gonna cut this out and check it out. This thing's ribs are so crazy. I have not done it, but I have heard of people cooking them just like this and eating the meat around it. Just trimming it up a bit, taking off the little bit of the excess membrane, making it look nice. I've never tried monchong ribs, so this is what I'm taking home for myself tonight because I gotta try it. I love getting to experience different odd cuts. The prize right here, that's getting sold in our seafood market because our customers are gonna be stoked to hear that we've got a pomfret in today. Before I flip it over to cut the other side, I'm gonna take these innards out because when I flip it over, they're gonna spill on the cutting board and dirty up our clean workstation. So we're gonna take that out. Now you guys have all heard you don't want fresh water touching your fish meat. I'm gonna show you an example of why with this. So we're gonna hose out the blood. Now, check out how phenomenal the little bit of meat left on the skeleton looks. Now let's add some fresh water. The skeleton will absorb that. You can literally watch it change color. It gets a little bit of this milky color to it because it's absorbing some of this fresh water, which is absolutely compromising the taste and texture. So once we have our fillets off, we never want that fresh water touching our meat. All right, we're gonna pick up the fin. Again, we wanna make sure we get all the meat behind the head, and we don't wanna battle these scales. So we're gonna go at a super hard angle for two reasons. We don't have to battle the scales, and make sure you don't lose out on any of the meat behind the head. If you just cut straight down, you'd lose out on so much. See this hard angle gets all of that meat that jets underneath the head there. We're gonna start right at that opening and slide down. Now that we can see the skeleton, we can rest our knife right on top of that skeleton and slide down. We're just gonna cut straight through the ribs and remove them after, so that way we don't have to work the meat too hard on the fish. All right, so on this side, we have the ribs still left in. We're gonna slide our knife right underneath those ribs and push forward. Now we're gonna flip our knife around and we're just gonna cut out this whole rib section. The ribs on these pomfret are unlike anything I have ever cut. So I'm excited to try them. All right, now that we've got the ribs out, you can see this membrane right here over the belly. We're gonna shave just that membrane off. The skin on these guys is super tough. All right, now we're gonna go remove one of my favorite odd cuts, the collars. Bright red gills, how you can tell you have a beautiful fresh fish. We're gonna puncture that membrane and slide all the way down. We're gonna flip it over and repeat the process. Puncture the membrane, slide underneath the throat there. This whole thing will release just like that. Now there's a point where two bones meet on the collar. It's hard to tell on monchong, but it's right here. And we want to slide right underneath that bone, and the whole thing dislodges just like that. We're going to repeat the process on the other side, and the whole collar will just come right out just like that. Now we're going to trim it up a little bit, take out some of the fatter parts of the membrane, and then we're going to come straight down just like this, trim off some of this excess membrane, and the scales do not want to come off of monchong. So we cook these with the scales on, skin side down the entire time, meat side up with whatever seasoning you want. Then you just eat the meat off of the top. You've got pec fin, dark meat right here, then collar, light meat right here that's more fatty. Phenomenal cut of fish. Everyone loves asking about the cheeks. There's very little cheek in monchong, but I'll show you guys anyway. We're gonna dive right there, slide underneath the lip, twist it around, outline, and there she is. Look at that. Beautiful, clean, white monchong cheek. Now, even though it's a small morsel, still don't want to leave it behind. This is a delicious part of the fish. Now we're gonna take this beautiful pomfret fillet. We're gonna remove the high loin from the low loin. We got pin bone line right here. We're just gonna outline that pin bone line all the way down. Cut through that tough skin, and there's the high loin. Now we're gonna come on the other side of the pin bone line, go all the way down. The pin bones end right here, but we're still taking this entire line out. There we go. So we got bones and blood going on right there. That's coming out. Up next, got just a little sliver of meat around that belly, and on these monchong, the belly is not like a prized fatty cut like on tuna. Similar to wahoo, the wahoo belly is not a special part of the fish. Same with monchong, it's not a really special part of the fish. Very little meat on there. So that just goes into a trim pile, and our trim pile gets turned into dips. Up next, we're gonna square off that tail right there, and again, trim pile, and you got a beautiful 14-ounce piece of monchong right there. Now, right here is the high loin. This is gonna have the highest market value out of the entire fish. We're gonna skin it. Now, a lot of fish, you can have a flat knife so that way you don't cut through the skin. On monchong, their skin is so tough, you can have your knife angled down and push just like that without worrying about cutting through that skin, because it is like armor. That would make really beautiful boots. Now, when it comes to portioning up the pomfret, first thing we're gonna do is cut the meat from behind the head. Look how phenomenal that looks. Clean, white, fat marbling in there. This is going to be so good. Then we're gonna take the rest of our loin until about here, and we're gonna cut it into medallions. We do the same thing with wahoo on the high loin. This is a great way to present and cook your pomfret. Look at that. That is absolutely phenomenal fish. This has to be one of the best tasting accidental catches in the entire ocean. Thanks for watching. Have a killer day.